Hey everybody, my name is Jim Farmer. I'm the festival director of Out on Film, Atlanta's LGBTQ Film Festival. We've had some great films this year, some amazing programming, and one of our favorites, as well as our audience favorites and jury favorites, has been The Lost Boys. And we're here speaking with the director, Zeno Graton. Thank you so much for talking to us, Zeno.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
I was telling you a little bit earlier that I went to Berlin and there were 9 million films that were available. So I didn't know a lot about this film when I saw it, and I left thinking, wow, this is just amazing. I think a lot of programmers did as well. Congratulations on the film.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
What was your inspiration?
Well, my inspiration for this movie was really about two things. There was first, I must say, Jean Genet. Jean Genet's writing, who's a French author from the 40s, 50s, who had a lot of problem with the justice system, and who was an orphan also, and he spent a lot of time in prison, and he wrote a lot about love between men in prison. He was also very politically active, and he was very close to the Black Panther movement. He was very close to, the Palestinian struggle. He was basically invited everywhere, and as a as someone who those minorities can talk to, and he would write about them, etc. And he's always been a father figure for me, inspiration figure for me in a very broad sense of the term. And when actually also when I was a teenager, I had a cousin who was placed into those kind of centers.
Okay,
And what? Yeah,
that's okay.
yeah. And we were both teenager at the time, and we were spending our holidays together. And suddenly one holiday he was not there because he was in prison,
Hmm.
and it really left something very strong in me, because I could feel at the time that it was not only his responsibility, and there was a whole system that was very difficult around him.
Sure.
And as time went by, I realized that this place didn't help him at all. And I just wanted to dig and try to talk about those places that nobody sees and nobody knows what's happening inside. So there was a will to also portray something new, and to mix it with Jean Genet, and there you go, I guess.
Yeah. Um, Joe and William are the protagonists here, and they form a relationship while they're in this center. But Joe and William, you know, have a lot of differences. Can you sort of talk about Joe and William and how they're different people, but eventually they do find, love and a relationship and a connection with each other?
Yeah, no, interesting. So basically, I wanted in the first place to have something with them in common, that would be their lack of inhibition towards their own sexuality. And I really wanted to make a movie with teenage protagonists where the main conflict would not be their inhibition, because I've seen that a lot. I had seen that a lot, and I was very inspired by this new generation who's actually transforming the game. And even though we still live in a very polarized society, they felt more free than I was when I was their age. And I felt that it was a story that was worth telling, of two characters who had other issues and other conflicts than accepting their own sexuality.
Sure.
So I really wanted to do that, and to have the passion as the conflict, and not the inhibition and the acceptance, etc. And yeah, I guess yeah. Then I really wanted to make two different characters in order to create conflict. So you have even the actors are very different, and when I cast them, I knew somehow how their differences were gonna create conflict and create beauty.
Hmm.
So Julien and the character of William, they were more straightforward kind of. Julien was in school, a drama school, is very hardworking in a way that he read like sociological books that I talked about once in an interview before the shooting, and he just read it and then dug into it, and he was very technique, and also his character was more about yeah, straightforward. He's the one who maybe is more rebellious in front of the educators, who questions the system more, etc. And Joe is more someone who's more poetic and in more living in his dreamy area of mind. And also when I cast Khalil, he did not do any school, and he had a very intuitive game, like intuitive manner of playing the character. And I like that a lot. And I like to confront the two acting methods in a way. Um, so yeah, I would say that. And it was very important for me to have a lead that would be Arab, a queer Arab leading character, because you know, I'm half Tunisian, and I really feel the lack of representation of queer characters of color that would be a leading role in a film. And some you know, it's very common that the people of color in queer films are the people, even in other films, you know, are the people who are victimized or who are fetishized. And I really wanted to have a character that that had his own drive and his own desired drive. um so yeah, that was important for me also.
You know what is so fascinating and so believable is that these characters, Joe and William, begin a relationship, but obviously they're in a place where they can't really be overt and open with each other. But there's just so much emotion here between them. I mean, I guess that's not really a question. I just wanted to say that I just found it fascinating, how the two actors are able to convey so much emotion, when their feelings for each other, and having to be really discreet about it because of their surroundings and what's going on with them. But these two actors, they're both amazing. But um, can you just sort of talk about what I mean, you mentioned this a little bit earlier, but can you talk about a little bit about what they bring to the table in terms of their characters and working with each other?
Sure. um no, yeah, you mentioned that it was impossible for them to leave that, and they had to hide. And
Yes.
I want to just respond to this, that the prison that we portray is also kind of this reflection of the society, in a
Mhm.
way that we feel that maybe people get more free about who they are and who they
Yeah,
want to love and how they want to love, but you still have this surrounding, this environment that is a bit like a prison. Like you can't hold hands, you can't be as out as you want in a public space. And I wanted to do that, uh, but more hard, like to really portray a prison where it's absolutely forbidden. But somehow, as queer people, we find ways to live and to love,
yeah,
and their you know, their struggle would be more visible if it was in a place where it was more hard, if it makes
sure.
sense.
Exactly.
And how they succeed, so it's a possibility. And I don't know what, you know, they brought to the table, their generosity. And you know, Khalil brought so much tenderness in the movie. um and I realized making the movie that it was actually more subversive to show two guys being tender to each other than having sex.
Yeah, good point.
And we, you know, like talking about masculinity, and it's you know, the prison that masculinity is also towards one's emotions and one's tenderness. It's like we feel like in gay cinema, it's often characters that are very hard and very brutal, and they have very brutal sex. And I wanted to show the possibility also to I like those movies, and I've been, you know, watching them, and I love them, but I wanted to show, to bring something else to the table that they helped me to bring, which is the tenderness
Okay.
of.
Um, you were talking about this earlier, but I mean, And when I was growing up, I saw very little positive portrayals of LGBTQ people. It was always tragic, or people had to die, or then we moved into the AIDS era. But can you talk about why it's so important? Why queer representation is so important, especially right now?
because they shape society.
Yeah.
And when I was writing, someone told me about this wonderful documentary that you must know, The Celluloid Closet.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so everything's there, and I'm encouraging everyone to see this because it really struck me when I saw that cinema has an enormous power in culture, and then therefore in how we interact between each other and how we view queer people as queer people, but also for the straight people. So now we live in an era that it's very normalized and queer representation is important. Sometimes this normalization question me a little bit because it kind of erases the political issues that are still at stake if it's a sentence. But
Mhm.
we there are so much bigotry out there, and we have extreme right-wing forces that transform the law, and that people are talking on television, politicians are talking on television, even in Europe, in a very hard way towards the LGBT community, and this allow in the streets some violence because people um, identify to those politicians and then get the right to do harm. And if we have on this channel someone talking bad about LGBTQ people, I want on the other channel that we have positive stories and political stories. And I think what I think about queerism representation that is on the rise is that it's good, but it's not good if it's not political.
Yeah. I love
I
the
don't
end.
like washing.
Yeah. I love the ending, that final shot. That is just, I mean, did you always know that's how you were going to end it, or was that something that sort of came up as you were working on it?
Yeah, no, this was one of the first thing that I knew that how it was ending.
Yeah.
And also because I went to those centers and I immediately realized that a lot of these kids were just there waiting for prison.
Yeah.
Because as soon as they're 18, they, go to prison somehow.
Yeah.
Um, and I knew that I wanted to and I was talking about that to people and nobody knew, and I was like, how come that nobody knows? And I don't know that also. And also it was a bit about creating a sense of about the dramaturgy, like how can you be at home with someone and feeling good with someone in a place that doesn't allow to hope, and then ending like that is like maybe saying maybe love, because I wanted to end also on a smile and something positive and as someone running towards his desire, and I wanted to create this paradox that we sometimes have in life, and sometimes everything is bad, but then if you truly love someone, it somehow changes the game. And maybe this is, I wanted to make a very romantic movie,
That's very
and it was
romantic.
it's a romantic ending, it's a tragic ending, so but also very positive. It's like both, and they lovers find each other in the worst place and maybe they will not get out, and but it's like it is, and
Nice. So what is next for you, and what is next for the film?
yeah. Well, for the film is cool. The story of this film is very nice, and actually we have an American distributor.
Oh,
I don't
nice.
know if you knew that. Yes, so it's called the Dark Star Pictures, and they pick out a lot of queer movies, and I'm very happy about what they're doing, and they wanna go put the movie out in April.
Nice.
So I think I'll be back around beginning of 24 to make a little tour. So that's what's next in America. And then yeah, the movie was bought in several countries. I'm very happy about that, and we're going into also a lot of non-queer festivals. So that's also important, I think, for the films that are showcasing in the queer film festivals. That is that can also have some bridges and be there also in the world, because it's how they make a bigger impact also, I guess. And but I've had I'm going to several queer film festivals, and I'm very happy about that. And me, I just got out of some of another work. I do some. I'm a video artist also, and I had a gig for a live stage performance. I did a big film that is live, blah blah blah. It was very fun to do, and now I'm free, and I'm free to dream, and that's already something good for me.
Nice. Congratulations on the film, Zeno. Thanks so much for sharing it with our audiences. We really, really liked it down here. And thanks for talking to us today.
Welcome, pleasure.
Thank you.